Today we are studying chapter 4 of the SD 38.4 about the Buddhist perspective on friendship, humanity and life. Page 71. This is how the book looks like. Okay. All these notes are available online. Dhammaphara.org, so you can download your own copy, or maybe you have your own hard copies. Alright, this topic is a very important topic. This is one word that can summarize the whole of Buddhism, if you like. So if you look at the subtitle, a Buddhist perspective on friendship, humanity and life. So, of course, love is one of the most misunderstood abuse of words. No? Because people like to define it in their own way, or they have a very narrow view of it. But today we're going to look at this word as an overview. So for us, for Buddhists, why is love so important? Because it covers all the three trainings. And the three trainings are the complete life of a Buddhist, if you like. Right? Sila, Sikha, Samadhi Sikha, Panya Sikha, right? Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Sila, moral virtue, body and speech. You have to love yourself. And if you love yourself, you're healthy, your speech is healthy. And our first connection with other people is a bodily connection. We're born from our mothers. We came from the love of our parents. So these are very basic emotions, if you like. So in the moral training, the training of speech and body is to express our love, in other words, unconditional acceptance. Now, even on a simple level, you can see the word unconditional acceptance there. Of course, I'm speaking very broadly in the Buddhist sense. In the worldly sense, you find there are many other aspects, which we'll look into in a moment. And then samadhi training of the mind. You have a higher level of mind, where the connection is more of learning, of curiosity, respect, and so on. So it's a connection between teacher, pupil, audience, speaker, and so on. So you find this, you can also use the word connection. Of course, connection is such a dry word, if you like, but interconnectedness, and so on. Then, of course, wisdom. Wisdom must come from love. Because if wisdom doesn't come from love, then it's just knowledge. What does this mean? When you love someone, you find love changes. It's not such a simple thing. Because if love is the same all the time, it becomes boring. I got another problem. So love goes up and down. Love tests us. Love teaches us a lot of things. And I've said again and again, to love is to learn. When you love someone, you learn more and more about that person. Good and bad. Strength and weakness, right? You learn to understand the weakness of the person, and according to Sigala Vada Sutta, you try to protect this person, help this person in his or her weakness. Then you also know the strength of this person, and you rejoice in the strength. So there are many aspects of love coming to Buddhism. So wisdom is where you begin to see things as they are. They're not perfect. They go up and they go down, they're impermanent. So once you accept that, that's wisdom of a very simple level. And then slowly you deepen this understanding and you liberate yourself. So that is on the three levels of training. So love is not new in Buddhism. Some people are surprised that we talk about love at all. Of course, the word we normally use is spiritual friendship. Right? So people may ask, okay, where's your sutta reference? Well, we have spiritual friendship, Vinaya and the suttas. Ananda one day was very inspired. He thought, oh, half the spiritual life is spiritual friendship, because you have connection with the teacher, you listen to the teacher. But the Buddha says, no, the whole of the Dharma, all the three trainings, spiritual friendship. Spiritual friendship is a very high level of love, of connection. So the whole of Buddhism, you need this kind of love in order to really change yourself. After all, what is Buddhism about? I mean, sometimes you can see people, they've gone to temples, go for talks for decades, and still they've not changed. People telling me their parents, father or mother, do all kinds of mantras and powerful chants. They do all their chanting, and after that, finish chanting, they kick. You get the son or the daughter get kicked. How can someone do all these wonderful mantras, kick people? Where's the compassion, right? So you find people do it mechanically, like tape recorders. One is tempted to say, might be reborn as tape recorders in the next life. Is that possible? So you don't have a mind, you become mindless. So you have to show this love. And then now we come to a very important, if you like, philosophical level. Love is something you are. Of course, you can also say you have, right? You have love for someone, right? But you say you love someone, so there's another way of saying it. To have is something that is outside of you. It's not really you. I have something, right? But love is not something you have. The funny thing about love is you never have it if you don't give it away. And only when you give it away, you have it. Right? It's ironic, isn't it? Speaking riddles, if you like. In other words, a simpler way is, love is something you must show. Love is something you show to others. There are many ways of talking about this, right? You've got to show your love to others. And it's a very difficult thing, in Asia, we are brought up since young, never to show our love. Not directly anyway. We always taught to show our love in things, living things. Or maybe indirectly, We are noisy people. Maybe the more we shout at each other, the more we love each other, I suppose. But then again, we become deaf after that, right? So you got to learn to show this love, especially in your loving kindness. So in loving kindness, we're doing just that. We say it, and then you don't have to say in words after that. Your face, your whole demeanor will exude, will send out this feeling, and people will know it. Even animals know it. My two cats, we all love these cats. These two cats are really talkative. I don't mean they meow, they yowl. There's another word for making loud noise, like cats. They come and talk to us like humans. For example, I come to them and in the morning, I look at me, they say, meow. They don't say, meow, they say, meow. I say, well, good morning to you too. So there is wonderful connection, even with animals. I can't talk about the plants, okay? You don't send too much to love kindness of the plants, you always forget the plants. You're not growing too well, then you've got to send it more to them. So in other words, you have to build this loving kindness up in you. Right? And that is the higher aspect of having love. No? So here, by way of summary, on page 71, you can see the key ideas, the guide. I've written them on the board behind me. You have the Western concept, or to be more exact, the Greek concept of stages of love, kinds of love, and then the Buddhist concept. They're amazingly close, very close. No? Sometimes when we talk of Greek concept, Greece is like in between East and West. Just by somehow, Greece has gathered more West than East actually. It's like in between. So many of the ideas are very similar to the ancient Indian ideas. The words are different, of course. And look at the Greek words, eros. Eros from the word eros, erotic, meaning physical, sexual love. But eros has a very broad meaning in ancient Greece. It basically means a love of the body. So you find the ancient Greek artists make beautiful statues of the human figure. Because to them to be healthy is very important. If you're not healthy, then your country will be invaded and you're in serious trouble. And in Singapore, you have this similar mentality. You need to be healthy and strong. You've got to go for national service. We're a small country, so we better protect ourselves, that kind of idea. Like a city-state. But that's the beginning of love, very basic. You got to love your body, keep it healthy, things like that. And in Pali or Sanskrit, say the word karma, right? Karma. Karma here means love of the body. And we have the word kamesu, michachara, right? Wrong conduct towards sensual pleasures. And that is one of the precepts we must keep. So, in other words, respecting the body. Then you have stolge, family love, familiar love, visasa. Visasa literally means trust. Okay? So here, family, the first group that we meet in life is our family. And a family must have love. If your family has no love, my goodness, a dysfunctional family can be very difficult. I can tell you there are lots of dysfunctional family in Singapore. You can, if you're sensitive, you can weep thinking of them. But enough weeping. I know lots of people from dysfunctional families, and they're very important to me because they write to me about their sufferings. And these are really precious, because when people tell you about their suffering, that means they trust you. They feel a connection with you. In other words, they're closer to you than to their own families, which brought them the suffering. So it's our duty, our prerogative, to listen to them. It's not just telling us like, of course sometimes you can feel, what's happening? I'm like, a scratching board, or someone just come and tell us all these things. But they trust you because they know you can help them. So many of my reflections you find reflect people who are suffering. Yeah? You will know that whenever I will say, someone told me, of course we don't mention names, because it's not who is suffering, rather there is suffering. It's not just in this life, but it's going to happen again. As long as human beings exist, there will be this kind of suffering. So it's good to know early. Why is there so much suffering in families in Singapore? Because people tend to think so much in terms of having, measuring things. I've heard now, even when they run temples, committees, they use KPI and measuring all these indexes. How much have you contributed? And people are scratching their head. I come as a volunteer. How am I going to measure how much I can contribute? I do what I can. So you can't measure goodness. You can't measure people's contribution to the Dharma. So you can imagine this idea of having creates a lot of problems. So what? Love also must be measured. How do you measure love? So once you try to measure things, then you are pushing away love. How much are you worth to me? Right? It's not love. It's investment. So family love is an acceptance of a mother for her child. That's how you're looking at it. It's just like your summary. We're going to talk a lot about this in due course. Then xenia, X-E-N-I-A, xenia. Hospitality. Xenia means something like hospitality to guests. Patisantara. Patisantara is very clear. It's hospitality to guests. And this is very important in Asia. In my generation, our parents still tell us that guests are very important, right? But you don't hear that much nowadays. The guest is sacred. Okay, so we will look at this in detail later on. Then you have philia. Philia. Oh yeah, just one more point about xenia. It comes from the root word xenos, no? So you have xenophobia in Singapore, fear of foreigners. Well, we're all foreigners in this country. We just became earlier. So these are terms which I was thinking about. Philia comes from philos, meaning love, I love, in the learning sense. So philia is a special Greek term for friendly love, love among friends. Prema in Pali. Prema is the noun, Piya is the adjective. Okay. What's interesting is that when I was born, my mother gave me the name Philip, because I asked her why. She said because the attendant was this like a sort of a male nurse, very kind to her. His name was Philip, so he decided to give me that name. I never used the name since I became a Buddhist. But ironically, or rather interestingly, my preceptor, when I became a monk, gave me the name Piya, which reflects the same meaning in Greek and in Pali. Philip, by the way, in Greek is Philippos. Philos, epos. Philos means I love, epos, horses. So Philip a lover of horses. Because the ancient Greeks, they love horses. The father of Alexander was called Philip. So agape, okay, this is the magic word, which have been borrowed by the Christians also and twisted around. Agape, divine love, selfless love. This is very close to metta. Now, one is very careful not to misunderstand this all equivalence, exact equivalence. They are not exact equivalence. Okay, these are they overlap. Much of them overlap in meaning. Okay? One reason is because the ancient Greeks, they were also Aryan, so the ancient cultural roots and the ancient Aryans of India they can be the same roots. So it's not surprisingly many of the ideas are similar. Now there are a lot of things here you should read on your own because I won't be covering them, some extra reading from literature and so on, so do read them by yourself. I want to talk more about the spiritual aspects of love, especially from the Buddhist point of view. Now, physical love is perhaps the most universal feeling people have. People get attracted to each other and they get married, right? So biological love is the kind of love that guarantees our survival. If you don't have that kind of feeling, the whole species will die. The problem is we actually have too much of that. So of course now we think that we don't have enough people in Singapore, but once we have too much, we don't have a problem. We're too crowded. Right? So it's better to have a sparse population and live happily with some good level of economics. But the problem is it's quite tricky. The economists are worried that you don't have enough people, and the economics won't be vibrant, so you have numbers. I think the main problem in this country is not people, it's the space. You need space. So let's hope that the idea of a common market or kind of a union of Southeast Asia might come to reality. So, because it's love of the body. So what's wrong with loving the body? Well, the body is impermanent, so if you are attached to it and you have a wrong idea about it, you're going to suffer. It is something you cannot really love as a thing. You have to respect it. When you respect something, the word respect is to see something. Respect, to see. To see something as it really is, respect. For example, when we respect someone, we should respect old people, we are told, right? What does that mean? Why should we respect old people? Well, old people, they're not that strong, they've eaten too much salt, it's not good for them. So they need to be taken care of, helped around because they are old, they're not as strong as young people. We take them for what they are. You also respect a child. Right? For example, if a little child comes in running around here and making noise, you're not going to give a long lecture to the child. Say, don't you know this is a Dharma talk and you're not supposed to do this? Well, the child is a child. A child doesn't understand a lot of things, so we treat the child with love, with gentleness. But we also know this child will grow up to be an intelligent person, wise person, if we show this love. So respect is accepting the person as he is right now and also seeing a potential in this person. And so respect has got quite a broad term. And of course, if you look at these various names, they're like a pyramid. The bottom is this physical love. So this physical love, of course, is the basis of marriage. All marriages, at least most marriages, there is a certain physical attraction, and that helps the couple to love each other. But if couples really love each other well, they also begin to see as they age how their bodies, weaken, decay, and so on. And they begin to understand the nature of impermanence also. So, in other words, the nature of the physical body has a lesson there. It teaches us something very real, that it changes. This physical body changes. You may make beautiful statues of the human body, but those are just rocks and stones, metal maybe. All that we are doing with these images is projecting the impressions of our ideas onto those elements. The idea is they exude sensual pleasures. They make us think of the five senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, right? And these five senses are all impermanent. So that's what we need to reflect on when we talk about the level of love on the physical level. Now then, you have Stoge, 1.2.2. Stoge. Stoge is familiar love or family love. Here, because it's quite broad, in fact, you can talk a lot about all these things. I've written, I don't know how many pages, 20, 30 pages here. You can write volumes on this, but we're just looking at the essence of it. Family love. It starts with two people, right? Two people love each other, they get married, and they have children, so you have a family. Usually a family, we would say, biologically related people living under the same roof. But sometimes they can live apart. Right? For example, the Chinese family is very big, so you find different families, they live in different buildings. So generally there's some kind of connection by birth, by blood. Now, we're talking about love here. So in family love, one very common kind of expression of love in terms of family on this level is just above the physical level and just below loving kindness, if you like. There's a very interesting behavior, local behavior, where someone would, especially women, not so much in men, women tend to show a kind of, in the West they call it clawing love, okay? Manja. A sense of, this manja, in other words, is to show a sense of softness, weakness, fragility even, to invite support from others whom they regard as stronger. And it's not just in local Southeast Asian context. Even the Japanese have this attitude. In Japan, it's called amaye. You can see the Japanese word there on page 72. Yeah? Roughly translated as indulgent dependence. Of course, we cannot exactly equate manja with amaye, although there are very similar ideas overlapping. The idea among the Japanese is that you have to show yourself as socially dependent on others. A sense of connection, that you're not alone. I think it's the influence of Confucianism, the idea of togetherness. I would say you can see this among the greater races also, like the Russians, for example. They came very close together. I wasn't flying in a plane. I forgot what plane, probably this Russian airline, I think. So there was these two tough-looking young men sitting beside me, and they were kind of holding hands and hugging each other. Now, they don't look like kind of people who are gay or anything like that. They look like more like soldiers, So you would say that kind of connectedness. And even in Thailand, you find men walking the streets holding hands. I mean, in Singapore, you can see that among the Indians also, from India especially. So these are a feeling of connectedness. They're non-sexual. There's a sense of connectedness. It's almost like they feel a family outside the family. And this helps to, give them a sense of security, especially away from their usual family. So these are ways that a human feel safe, secure, functional, even happy. Of course, in Buddhism, we're warned against not being mindful. Okay, for example, it's a story of mother and son here. Mother became a nun, son becomes a becomes a monk. So this young man, Wada, his name is Wada, so the mother is called Wada Mata. Wada Mata, apparently she's a very well cultivated nun. But the son, the young son, knows the mother is a nun, so he feels familiar with Sasa, closeness. So he goes to see the mother, and who's living in a nun's quarters. He only wears his sarong and outer, little like a thousand single like that. He goes in to see the mother like that. The mother sees him and said, Wada, you're a man, you should not, take such liberties, I mean, although I'm your mother, yes, but you're a monk. I'm a nun. So he gave him a discourse, on how not to misuse Visasa, not to misunderstand his closeness. Or in other words, to see a difference between renunciation and biological family. And as a result of that, this young man became enlightened. So you can see here the spiritual situation brings wisdom out of a person. So here you have another kind of a survey here. And in Xenia, you have this guest friendship. It means guest friendship. Here you find the ancient world, from Greece right across Asia. The guest is sacred. Even in ancient Greece, the guest is sacred. You might say in the early years before the industrial period, the guest is sacred. But once the industrial revolution started, when things began to be measured, time began to be measured, goods began to be measured, prices are put on your time, prices are put on you also. Women had no price, by the way, those days. The women had to fight it, for their franchising and so on. So can you imagine women? It's not that women are priceless, women are worthless. Until they fought for their rights, after the Industrial Revolution. So then the guest is no more sacred, because you come, you eat my food, that costs money, that kind of idea. So you got to be careful. You go to the West, you visit people when they're having their meals, it is not likely you'll get invited to eat. They tell you to wait, I suppose. However, you're in the villages, it's different. People are more friendly. Right? But in Asia, you find one of the most common things we ask each other when you meet, what do you ask? Have you eaten? Yeah. Or they'll drag you to the table, come eat, Sometimes they overdo it, And you find you after that you put on weight, So that is Xenia. And the philia, here you find a kind of loyalty among friends, and it's shown among the early monastics. Right? And then agape. During the time of Plato, that's around the 5th century, 4th to 5th century, 5th to 4th century. These ancient philosophers, they used the word agape in various senses to mean, for example, love between spouses, between husband and wife, love within the family, or to have a common love for a certain activity, like a hobby like that, maybe. A non-sexual affection, in other words. Okay? And then the Christians took the term over and they gave it deeper meaning. Then let's look at Chinese conception of love. Now, somehow the Chinese never learned to express their love. Why? One reason is because of the domination of Confucianism in their culture. We talk a lot about Confucianism, right? Politicians love Confucianism because Confucianism is a kind of structured love, if you like. You show your love, or rather your loyalty, according to a structure, hierarchy in society. You have the emperor at the top, and then the nobles, and then just giving a rough kind of structuring, the merchants, the wealthy people, right? And then the scholars, or maybe the scholars first sometimes, right? and then you have the workers, and then the menial workers. It goes like that. So you got those in the lower ranks got to show their love and respect on it. No, you can use love actually, more like respect, loyalty to those above. And finally it goes up to the emperor. So the emperor loves this kind of structure. Politicians love this kind of structure. It keeps society stable, it keeps them in power. There's no love here actually, it's loyalties. It makes power structure works. This is the way Confucius thought. But there was another philosopher who has been forgotten. Mencius, Mingzi, or Mozi. He disliked this kind of idea of structured love. It is more like it can become nepotic, right? You for example, you promote your own families into power, and it's political. So if the emperor tells you what to do, you have to do it, something like that. So he says that love should be universal, not because of position. You don't respect people because of their position. You respect another person because of their humanity. Isn't that a wonderful idea? This is what Mencius taught. But it never caught on in China. Somehow, if the emperor doesn't like it, nobody will like it. Nobody can like it anyway. Because there is this huge peasantry at the bottom, and they're not very thinking people. They just do things, they just do what's to be told. They're more worried about whether they get their bowl of rice for the day or not. So they're not concerned about all this, whether, universal love against structured love, But we know today, universal love is very important. By the way, even in our culture here in Singapore and Malaysia, you find this idea of structure is still there. It's much weaker than the past, but it's still there. For example, you must not criticize too much of those people above you. I'm talking about a Buddhist structure. I'm not talking about politics here. You cannot criticize too much people above you. You can get trouble sooner or later. It's still there, this idea. And we still feel that people above us, our leaders, are always right, so we just listen to them. But some of us who are thinkers and who are wiser, who study the suttas very well, then you start telling them, this is not right, something's wrong here. I get feedback every now and then. People telling me, I go to this so-called Buddhist talk, I listen to the speakers. It's all empty. There's nothing much. There's no dharma in what you're talking about. And so they just feel more empty than when they came. And recently, the latest reflection was about our married life. We got something happy, because I want people to feel happy that as Buddhists, we can still have a happy married life. Someone wrote back and say, I'm so happy, you wrote all these things. Because I've been hearing all these, some of these, even lamas, even Zen teachers, they're talking strange things, which are not very helpful. Talking riddles and high-flown things. They talk of compassion and love, but they never show it. They never show it. So I've unfriended these people, on Facebook and so on. In a sense, I think it's a good thing to do. So that you have all these things, there's not very happy things. I think you have to somehow keep away from them so that you're happy. This one, unless you can help them, So these are choices you have to make. So Nietzsche somehow lost his influence. He was overwhelmed by the national structure of beliefs, right? But we know of him, his teachings are there, but he never really caught on the Chinese mind, universal love. Of course, the Chinese do like to say, in the four seas, all men are brothers, and so on. They do have that kind of idea. But that's more of a brotherhood of men, not so much sisterhood. The women have to work it out themselves. There is this idea, but it's not the kind of universal love that the Buddhists were teaching. That only came later. So you have a range of meanings when you talk about love. And so you find in Buddhism, when they talk about non-political love, love someone for his own sake, to see growth in this person, to help people to change, to be happy. I like to tell people, you want to be a true Buddhist, learn to be happy. Learn to be truly happy. Because we are truly happy, then you also have love. Or if you have love, you're also happy. Then you keep the precepts well. If you're happy, you are full of loving kindness, you are empowered to keep the precepts more easily. You are also empowered to help people. You bring, wherever you go, you bring heaven with you. There is this mystical poet, English poet called William Blake. He wrote these very beautiful lines in 1794 in his works called Songs of Experience, page 75. He says, "Love seeketh not itself to please, nor for itself of any care, but for another gives its ease and builds a heaven in hell's despair." Love is what brings happiness to others. Listening to people, talking to them when in difficulty. So sometimes people will come to me and say, "Oh, something bad happened to me, my parents treat me like that, or my spouse treat me like this, or my boss did this," and so on. Sometimes we don't have all the answers. Because these are not easy problems, they are not there, So what can we do? Just listen, be kind to this person. Remind this person of happy days, true stories. Just be there, and you find this person will feel good. There was a time when Rana and I used to despair. People with problems coming to us. Number one, we don't know what to tell them. And these are really bad problems, The next thing is we're worried that we might go crazy ourselves. We keep hearing problems all the time. But then, the suttas is loving kindness. You have a lot of loving kindness. The next thing is compassion. Then you realize, you say, wow, how fortunate I am. I don't have all this problem. And this person has so much problem. Then you let this compassion well up, and it strengthens you. This is the meaning of empowering. It strengthens you to listen to people. And people tell you all the problems, and if you are not trained, you tell yourself, why can't these people help themselves? Always come with the same problem, right? We mentally scold them, It's very dangerous, So, if you have compassion and you listen to them, you say, wow, this is really bad. This poor person is suffering, I must imagine the pain this person is going through. Hopefully this person sees impermanence of this. And then you tell them all these nice things. I write reflections for them. She reads it, she cries. People are very happy. A few months pass. And they come back to the same problem again. I write another reflection. Why some people are difficult to change and so on. And they read it again, they're happy again, So you got to sustain your health. Some people think that, they're very compassionate. There's some great guru coming to town. I just touch you, wham, you're okay. Forever. There's no such thing. Right? And then we mention, this great guru healed me. Not true. It comes back. And then, the loved ones, close friends are the ones who keep healing you. You have a problem, you go to them, they listen. And you need this kind of people. You need this kind of friends or good listeners. I've been observing couples in Singapore, husbands and wives. I noticed that those who are an island unto themselves, these two couples, man and wife, like Robinson Crusoe and Woman Friday, if you're like that, then you can have problems. Because you've got to extend your friendship to other people also. So couples who have close friends, men who have close men friends, women who have close women friends, whom they can talk to. Very important. For example, let's say you had this big quarrel with your wife or your husband. The normal way people get upset, what do? They don't go to deep meditation. When you go to deep meditation, you go jhana, no problem with it. They go to the local park, get drunk. They call it happy hour. Actually, it's very unhappy. Or worse, they go to prostitutes and then it matters worse. More complicated. But if you have a friend, you talk to your friend, and your friend says, I understand, and then you find you ventilate, you're able to talk freely, openly, as mentioned in the Sigalovada Sutta. Right? Your secrets he keeps. He tells you his secrets, and he protects you in times of trouble and difficulty. So once you have this kind of friend whom you can talk to openly about your marital life or family life, after that you feel good after that. So you got to practice the renunciation here, see? Some of my close students do that too, For example, when they quarrel, the wife walks off, and then he writes to me and says, my wife walked out. I say, good, but she'll come back, don't worry. You don't do anything silly in the meantime, I say. And then in the evening she comes back and says, there you are. So it's good to just, if you find it, you're not getting anywhere, just go out. Go to a peaceful place, go and visit a good old friend or teacher. And then if the person is wise and compassionate, tell your story, and then you feel good about it. And you're clearing away are the negative thoughts about people, about the one you love. And then you come back in the evening, you find everyone feels good about it. So we must remember this, especially married couples who are Buddhists, to forgive, forget, right? And start all again, anew every time. So now we're going to the Buddhist perspective of love in a bit more detail. 2.1, love training. I mentioned earlier the 3 trainings actually are training in different levels of love. So we have 5 different perspectives of Buddhist love, if you like. It's 2.2. In this study, we will look at love in 5 ways: on a personal or as a physical emotion, that is love as sensual pleasure. Then as a relationship between 2 persons or among small, that is family love, right, between parents and children. And then as a social emotion, neighborliness and hospitality. And then 4, you have what's called developmental relationship, especially in true-hearted friendship. And then spiritual love is the highest of it all, very important, unconditional love to all beings and to the world. This is very important in Buddhism. This is another big difference between Buddhism and other religions, especially the God religions. In the God religions, your love must be directed only one way, to God. So you don't show that kind of love to human beings. Humans don't deserve that kind of love. Or if you show that kind of love, it's because for a greater love. So that love is always conditional, in other words. You love others because of God, for God. But in Buddhism, you love people unconditionally. You love people for what they are. Completely. Accept them. That's how you heal them. So you've got to be strong also. So this is very important to understand. If you have a God idea, you can never have unconditional love. Why? Because you externalize that love of God out there. But the Buddha says that godliness is inside you. You've got to cultivate the love inside you. That is why you find there's so much problems in the Catholic Church, the organized church, over child abuse. Over hundreds of years, thousands, maybe millions of children were abused. It's very sad. So, you have different levels of love, in other words. Basically, you can talk in terms of 3 levels, animal, human, divine. It's another way of summarizing it. Animal, human, divine. Animal love is simply a cumulative desire or reactive lust to reproduce ourselves or just to satisfy a feeling. It's got power behind it also, like among the apes or the monkeys or wild animals. And then you have exploitative love, like the asuras, they exploit others for their own pleasure. And you have addictive kind of love. But this is not love at all. It's addiction, tretas. So you have these different subhuman beings that show the kind of states we can fall into, get caught into, and really suffer. So if we do not understand the nature of love, we can fall into the level of animal love, we can fall into the level of asura love, we can fall into the level of preta love. Well, we can't say hell love, hellish love. That's really love of pain. It's really crazy, isn't it? So human love is that of communication, of learning, of giving, right? As human beings, one of the things that we are good at is giving. One of the things that define human beings. Of course, what do we give? We give things, we give food, but those we give money, right? Those are material things. We also can give non-material things, like we give our time, we give our energy to help around, right? But the highest gift is the gift of the Dharma, to teach people how to be happy for themselves. The gift of the Dharma is not just teaching suttas and Dharma. It also means teaching people how to be happy. Teaching them how to be happy. It's not easy to teach people how to be happy. Right? You got to know Dharma. Our animals also do sometimes, if you love animals very well, they do practice giving. At least I've seen it for myself. Very rare, but it does happen. Remember this story, the famous story of the cat, you remember? I had this one really wonderful cat when I was in Malaysia. And I had so many cats, I've forgotten their names, but I remember this one interesting story. I remember I was a monk still at the time, I think. And this cat was really a wonderful cat. One day this cat came to me dragging something. I was sitting there, and this cat was dragging a dead rat, and it placed it right before my feet, just like that. And I said, "Oh my goodness, he has offered me a rat." And I told her, I said, "Look, I don't take rats, okay?" So, but your sentiment is noted. And it's a very interesting thing, you know, a cat giving me a rat, okay, offering dana, you know. That's all the cat knows. I mean, rather strange if the cat dragged a packet of instant noodles, you know. That would be very interesting, right? That's all the cat knows, you know. Of course, you can explain this off scientifically. Maybe this cat is imprinted on me, you know, kind of see me as like a parent, you know. Or maybe it will see me like a little kitten, maybe, that she loves, you know. So she gives the food to me, you know. Mother cats tend to do that. But the point is, animals can show human traits if you love them well. In other words, you are preparing them to be reborn as human beings. I've written an article on this, how animals are reborn as humans or devas even. You know? So if you treat them well, you're helping them in their spiritual evolution, so to speak. And we also help people in their spiritual evolution if you love them. That is why we cannot hate even our enemies, because we want them to spiritually evolve, so that when we meet them in the future, they are happy people, kind people, loving people. They are unfortunate to suffer. Because of that, then they hurt other people. So this is why compassion is very important. So how do we distinguish animal love, human love, divine love? One of those monks I knew long ago when I was a young man told me this very funny story. He says, if a boy sees a girl the first time, that is human love. He falls in love. He says, "Oh, pretty girl, huh?" And then he looks again, second time at this girl. That is, first time is divine love. And he looks, "Oh, beautiful girl, this love in heaven, you know, divine love." Yeah? And then he looks again, second time, and says, "That's nice hair, this and that, you know." Human love. Start noting address, phone number, right? Human love. Yeah? And then third time he looks, that is animal love. Okay, and then he wants to go to date with this person, and so. Right? So that's one way to remember it. Yeah? Love essentially is a sensitive feeling, and it should be sensible also. Why? Because love has to do with the senses. When we love people, the most common thing is through looks, right? We recognize our loved one through looks, or we fall in love through looks. Sometimes we fall in love through voice, listen, right? Then smell, taste, feeling, right? And love is also from contact. So, but we have to understand that all these sensations, all these sensitivities are impermanent. It is the sixth sense, the cognitive sense, the mind behind it or the heart behind it that makes it meaningful, that makes us understand the nature of this love. We have to reflect on the impermanence of it all. We have to understand that it is because we're attached to one of these senses that lust arises. Lust means we want more and more of the physical aspect of this love. Whereas if you want more and more of the mental aspects, called learning. Okay? So this is very important to reflect on. Right? So love, in other words, has its objects. Whereas loving kindness, in a sense, when it is well cultivated, it has no object. May all beings, not one particular being. Yeah? Of course, we can begin one particular being, but ultimately we must say all beings. Okay? Now, the next question we should ask ourselves: why do we love? Page 80. Why do we love? Yeah? Why do we fall in love for that matter? Well, the simple answer is latent tendencies. We have feelings, greed, hate, delusion, or lust, ill will, ignorance deep down inside us. Or another way of saying it is we have our past karma. We are born with this baggage of past karma. The people we married, probably we married them in previous lives too. So once this beautiful story of this young man and a girl, how they were kind to each other. In the end, they got married. In Dhammapada story, very beautiful story. The stepfather was trying to kill him, but this woman helped him. So they both married in the end. Then the Buddha said something like, if you treat each other well in this life, and you have been kind to each other in the past, then you will love each other. Your love will grow like a lotus top of the water. So, in other words, the fact that we fall in love with someone, with your spouse, your partner, is very likely because of past karma, past connection. But you need present good conditions to sustain that love. So then in the next life, you become better at it. It grows like that. Yeah? So, love, in other words, is something you should do, you should practice. So biological love, in other words, is purely of the body, so that the species continue. And sexuality is what is the name we give to this kind of activity. And sexuality is the most selfish form of love, because the I is very big here. Right? When we talk about sex, it's always the I. I want the pleasure. So sexuality is the most selfish form of love. And on the other extreme, loving kindness is the most open of love. Then you might say, what about compassion, gladness, equanimity? They are all forms of loving kindness. Compassion is loving kindness expressed to people who are less fortunate. Gladness is loving kindness expressed to those who are more fortunate than we are. Equanimity is what strengthens us in face of our success and failure. The way the world is, we have done our best, so we just look on, undaunted, peacefully. So they are all aspects of loving kindness. And the love of the Dharma is another aspect, another way of talking about loving kindness. Now, the love of Dharma is interesting because if you have love for the Dharma, you may also feel a sense of suffering. There's a special term for that. It's called uddhacca, restlessness. If you truly love the Dharma, you will also, if you are not awakened, feel a sense of restlessness. It is normal. You have to understand this. For example, if you love the Dharma, you may think, why can't people study suttas, be happy? Why can't they straight away study the suttas so that they learn all their problems, don't get into trouble? But they tell you, oh, very cheap, difficult, I cannot understand, boring, this and that. And when they have trouble, they come to you. Alright? Well, that's the way things are. They just don't have the time, inclination, or the wisdom. So when you feel like that, that's uddhacca. It's quite normal. Yeah? This can happen even to very deep meditators, So they go to jhanas and then they come up. Then they say, oh, all these people, if only they know this jhana, these things. So they can't attain arahathood. But they become non-returners if they have this slight feeling for the world. Right? So what if they can let go of uddhacca also, they become arahats. So uddhacca is that sense that you feel, why can't the world change? That's why equanimity is so important. What I'm saying here, this is a normal feeling. If it's there, it's there. It's okay. When you learn to let it go, that's the right time. So don't rush it. If your mind is truly calm, you can cultivate yourself. You will know how to let it go. So today I'll stop here. We continue with 323 next week. Any questions?
The spouses being probably from the past life, that's why you got married again. But I heard a lot of people being like that in bad marriages. They will, tolerate all the sufferings just not to meet the other person the next time. Is that a right kind of thinking? Because I heard a lot of stories about wives or husbands being abused. Just to take it all and you want to meet the person the next life.
Well, it depends who's teaching them, what teachings they're following. Well, in the traditional culture, you also have arranged marriage. You find arranged marriage, it can be quite tricky. People, whether they love each other or not. But I have friends whose marriage has been arranged, and they're very happy and successful people. In fact, they're earning more money than we are. They're very happy. And so it's hard to say sometimes. The point is, as I said, there are two ways you can meet again. Through kindness and love, or through strong hatred for each other. So the more you hate each other, the more likely you're going to meet each other too. So why not show love, if not at least loving kindness? In other words, well, you have a choice here. It's not an easy thing to deal with. Let me close telling this with this story. There was this monk who has been teaching for a long time about compassion, meditation, things like that. So this woman has been coming, listening, feeling very good, doing the meditation, also very, very happy. But she didn't say anything. She just come, goes away. You find a lot of people like that. Just come, do meditation, listen to Dharma talk, no questions. They don't even talk to anyone else. They just come, they go, come, go like that. So you got to watch out for such people. Just be there, ready for them. They probably have a story to tell you. Then one day, she came smiling, very happy. After a few years, So the teacher asked him, I've seen you coming here every year, but you never smile. You just come, do your meditation, listen to Dharma talk, no question, and you go home. But today you are happy. Can you tell us what happened? I said, I've been coming for many years here, meditating and listening to Dharma talk. And you, the teacher, tell me, even though people hurt us, if your spouse hurt you, send them your loving kindness, be patient with them, keep sending loving kindness to them. Well, my husband has been beating me every time. I come here because this is the only time he doesn't beat me. And when I go back, I get beaten again. But still, I keep sending loving kindness to him. Then one day, when he was less drunk, he asked me, he says, why do you let me beat you up? Why is it you don't get angry with me? And then he said, well, I've been listening to Dharma talks and to show my loving kindness to you. And the teacher said that you don't really want to hurt me. You're not happy with something, and here I am, always near you and who loves you. So I'm the one who receives the brunt of your unhappiness. And if that makes you happy, I suppose I'm happy for you. So the poor man broke down. He said, oh dear, I shouldn't have done this. So the husband changed because of that. So that's why she's so happy. I tell you, this is very rare. She's so patient. Must be a manifestation of Kuan Yin, I suppose. Other people will tell you women rights, so tell you sue the husband, take him to court, whatever. And then you'll be doing that again in the future. So, in other words, learn Dharma early. Prevention is better than cure. That's why now with our email, we tell people, hey, come and send the emails of your friends over before they need to send the email. Okay? So read early, learn to love early, then you're prepared for problems. Prevention is better than cure. Okay, on that note, we close our study for today. Let us do a short reflection. They say love makes the world go round, but it is also true to say suffering makes the world go round too. In other words, to love, we also sometimes feel pain. It is a package deal. So we've got to reflect on the nature of love. To love is to learn. And if we look at this, we find if we allow ourselves, we've really learned a lot about ourselves, about other people. The idea is to go on living our lives, and as we do that, we begin to see clearer what we can do, what we can't do, what we should do, and what we should not do. This is the power of reflection. When we learn Dharma, then we are able to polish the lenses which we look through more clearly. We begin to put the pieces together. We begin to understand the nature of love, the nature of our feelings, so that we can respond better. The most important thing is to cultivate loving kindness within ourselves, never to look down upon ourselves, to see ourselves as failures, nor to abuse others. Once we have this loving kindness, then we begin to see the goodness in others also. And when we do that, we surprise them, and they also will respond with a softer heart. Of course, we need to work on this. It's not something easy, but it is possible. It is the best way to live, because we meet again. Reflecting in this way, we create very good mental karma. By the power of this karma, may we learn to love wisely. May we learn from loving. Even from pain, may we learn wisdom and strength. And in our joy and love, let us share our wisdom with others too, so that they do not suffer or end their suffering. But above all this good karma, may we in this life itself attain spiritual liberation, namely strength within. In these peaceful moments too, let us send our loving kindness to all those people who are important to us, to all those who work for the Dharma, that they may be closer to the Dharma. And for those who have difficulties, that they may see themselves more clearly and happily in the Dharma and be wiser. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.